What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're taking a look at the Suprlativ Sidekick EDC pouch. First pouch coming out of Suprlativ. If you're not familiar with them, you can see the spelling right here on the tag, not the conventional spelling, missing a couple of vowels there, but they're more known for their knives. In fact, it's a collaboration between three of the hottest knife makers out there right now, Enrique Pena, Javi Garcia, and Jared Ozer. And so they make some really beautiful designs. I do have one in the pouch. If you've never seen one before, stay tuned for that. However, the focus of this video is going to be more on the pouch than the gear. I always like to load out the different pockets to give a better sense of scale. I just find it easier to visualize than just giving the dimensions, although I will measure them out later in the video as well. So as far as this pouch goes, released last week for $38, really reasonable price on it. And they sold out within a couple of days. However, based on some social media posts and comments they've made, does seem like this will be in stock in the next couple of weeks. And so if you're interested in this, probably best bet is to just sign up for their newsletter. I'm sure they'll announce it there. In terms of the dimensions on this, we're looking at about 4 inches by 6 inches and 1 inch thick is the listing. Mine was closer to about 3.5 inches wide, and the other dimensions were spot on. And so I'm actually pretty happy with that because it gives it a slightly smaller footprint. This is great for dropping in a front pocket as long as you have some looser pants. If they're tighter, you might be better off with a back pocket, cargo pocket, or just dropping in the bag, but does work well with most of my pants in a front pocket carry, so I don't mind the kind of smaller footprint than what was listed there. Weighs in at about 2 ounces empty also, so not adding a lot of weight. The base fabric on here is a Cordura, although you're not seeing a lot of that from the exterior. You can see a little bit here, covered by our strip of Velcro, as well as our external organization pockets. And these are listed as a black stretch woven fabric. They don't give the specific fabric, but kind of an elasticy feel. It's also soft, so it has kind of a nice feel to it, a little bit better feeling in hand than Cordura because it's softer, gonna protect your gear, not scratch it up too much either, which is great. Now, on this front side, we have this strip of Velcro, which is a good size for REs, a little bit small for your 2x3s. We'll get that measured out in a moment here as well. We have one organizational pocket, and this one, they are sewn in at a slanted angle here, so it does make it difficult to measure, but we're just gonna measure right from the middle. In this one, I have a multi-tool, the Leatherman Skeletool, kind of a mid-size multi-tool, fits well in there, and I find that to be true with most mid-size multi-tools. The only other one I've carried in here so far is the Leatherman Rebar, and that fits in here nicely. Does not have a pocket clip, but is snug enough that it won't fall out on you. Now, the largest multi-tools in my collection probably wouldn't fit in here, something like the Victorinox Spirit X, which is a pretty big one, I don't think fits in here, but most mid-size ones should fit pretty nicely. Moving on to the back side, before we get into those measurements, we have two more organization pockets. They are slightly different in width. It's not immediately obvious, but the right is a little bit wider and a little bit taller. So we'll start with that one. We have a pry bar from Nice Guy Machine Co., the Mr. Nice Bar. This is a titanium pry bar made in the USA. And right next to that, we have our Suprlativ Cruzador, formerly known as the Infidel. Beautiful knife. This is a modern slip joint, carbon fiber inlays, that titanium bolster. The Morph Shield is really cool. Probably one of the heaviest pulls in my collection, but absolutely love the design on this. It's got a really aggressive tactical look, which you don't see so often in slip joints. And so have a separate video on that one if you'd like to learn more about it. CPM M4, if I'm remembering correctly, on the blade steel. So before we get to the interior of this pouch, let's measure those exterior pockets in Velcro. So the Velcro does go the full 6 inches, rounded at the corner, so probably a little bit shorter there, but it's only about 1.5 inches wide, and so good for ranger eyes, but like I said, those 2x3s aren't gonna quite fit unless you don't mind them just kind of overlapping with this pocket. In terms of the pocket, we're looking at about 1.75 inches or so, and in terms of the depth in the middle, we're looking at just a hair above 4.5 inches. And so of course you can make use of that upper real estate up here to have items overhang there a little bit. In fact, it's almost preferable because then you can get a better grip on them without having to dig into the pocket. Moving over to the exterior, we can see the leftmost one is probably about 1.5 inches wide, and the right one is just about 1.75 inches, so not a huge difference overall, but slightly wider. Now, the depth on there is a big difference. This one comes in the middle right at that 4-inch line, and the rightmost pocket is right around the 4.5-inch line. And so A little bit difference in depths, but you can fit basically the same types of items into each of those because they're so similar. Now we have these two 550 cord loops on either end, one on either end, and those are if you want to add a strap or anything like that, you can put it in either end or on both ends if you want to carry it more as like a sling type bag. Doesn't include one, and I don't know that they really sell one separately, but if you have something already, you can definitely go that route. Also nice for kind of silencing these zippers. Not really silencing because it does have that shrink tube wrap on the 550 pull YKK zipper, but if you thread it through there, it is kind of secure and it takes a little bit of effort to unthread it and unzip it, so maybe makes it a little bit more theft deterrent where someone can't just kind of sneakily unzip it, although you probably hear and feel that, so not sure how much that's really adding to it, but I did notice that you can tuck that in there and it makes it a little bit harder to rapidly unzip this. Now the YKK zippers are reverse threaded, which is a nice touch. These are not the Aqua Guard, and I don't think these are going to be really waterproof, although Cordura is pretty water resistant in terms of just a quick shower but not submergible. And so getting in there, you can actually get really nice access to this, so you can basically fold this up and see right onto the inside, which I really like about this pouch and was something that was a little bit unexpected. So we'll start in this front main just kind of cavernous pocket. This has a lot of room for items that are about 1/4 inch thick, maybe even a little bit thicker, up to about 1/2 inch if you're not making so much use of that backspace. I didn't put a whole lot in there. I tend to be pretty minimal, so I have the Dango Pioneer notes in there as well as a Fisher Space bullet pen, and so didn't put a whole lot in there, but great for change. And I've put Zippos and stuff like that in here before. It's kind of hard to see the very bottom of it, but the seams are sewn in separately and there's a length of fabric at the bottom so that you can load these out a little bit wider than if it were just kind of a folded piece of cloth at the bottom. And so behind that, we actually have this, I don't know what the material is, but it seems to be a laser cut card slot for credit cards. Hits up to 8 cards. I don't have that many in there. I think I only put 3, 2 credit cards and an ID, but definitely no doubt that it would fit more cards. It's pretty generous space. It's not super snug with those 3 cards in there, and pretty minimalist design, which I like. So this is nice because you have your pouch section, you have your wallet section, and then you have your pocket organizer. So kind of fulfills all 3 needs in one pouch. Behind that, we have our area for cash and receipts that can also be used for other types of storage. Probably a little bit less real estate in terms of the thickness, but the same amount of space overall as that front main pocket. Back there, I just have a bunch of folded bills just to show what that looks like. Only have to fold them in half to get them in there and can accommodate quite a few. So this does double as a very nice generous size wallet. You can also put more cards if you're someone who carries more than 8 cards, stuff a couple extra in the back there. But I really like how much this opens up. Last but not least, we do have a tag in here, and you'll see, hopefully, it says Katanica, made in Vietnam. And so obviously made in Vietnam. Katanica is a company that makes their own pouches and bags. This is a Suprlativ design, but they license it out to them to actually produce the pouches. Now, none of the pouches that they sell really look anything super similar to this, but they do have some interesting bags and pouches. May see them on the channel in the future. Hadn't heard of them before, so thought that was interesting. But I think this is a really great design. In fact, it reminds me a lot of one of my favorite pouches, the Alpaca Zip Pouch Pro. And so you can see they're not all that similar in terms of the material. That doesn't have this zipper pocket, completely different access to the top, which the Superlative Sidekick has a ton more access, which I like better, but kind of a similar feel. In terms of the overall size, the Zip Pouch Pro is a little bit smaller. You do have the same kind of exterior pockets that you get on the Sidekick, and so reminds me a lot of this one, just kind of a upgrade in terms of the access and the amount that you can put in the interior portion of this pouch. So this one does feel a little bit more versatile. Obviously, if you prefer X-Pac, this is not X-Pac Cordura and this woven stretch fabric, which I like, but has a nice feel to it too. Would love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments below. I will link to it even though it's sold out, in case in the future it's just in stock, and so I will link to it. Not affiliated with them at all, but I am a big fan of their knives, and so I was excited to check this out. As a pouch guy, anytime I see a company getting into pouches, I do like to try and check those out. But would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you picked one up, what you're carrying in the various pockets, and anything else you'd like to comment. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or joining the channel as a member. Hope you had an excellent Easter weekend and have a great one. Take care.